Hello, welcome back. So today I'm going to get right to viewer comments and viewer questions. So these are, I'm going to read you the comment and then I'm not going to say who said it. And then I'm going to give you what I have done and what I would do in that particular situation. So first up was a spelling question. For kids with dysgraphia, which basically mean handwriting problems, when do you introduce spelling and how do you introduce it? Okay, so this is what I did. I actually found a really good spelling program for $4. So so you print it off. So it has several weeks, but I just printed off the first page because we're working on week 1. So week 1, if you take a look, you can look at those simple words there. Now what I do is I put them on cue cards, and every day at breakfast, I'm like A-N-D, and they can repeat it, hat, H-A-T. And then sometimes throughout the week, I'll say, okay, how do you spell hat? So even though it says though week 1, week 2, week 3, this is going to be a bit longer process because if you're not handwriting per se, then it's just going to take a bit more oral work to get the spelling kind of done. And then it comes with, so it has about, I don't know, like 400 pages of different writing assignments. But if you take a look, it has some that you can do with dysgraphia because you can point out the letters there, right? So instead of writing the letters, you can point them out. So even if you did kind of that and you wanted to spell that way and ask them, I just have them do it orally. And then, so like at the end of 2 weeks, I just have it written down. So here I could do for one child, because I have 2. And then, you know, if I had them written out, which is what I do, is I just handwrite them out and then I check it off when that one child knows it. And then I check it off when the other, and if he doesn't, well, then I keep it in the mix. And we keep doing it till they both do it. So one is in grade 1. Well, it's better if I tell you their ages. One is 8 and one is 9. And that's when I introduce spelling. Okay, this person writes, what annoying behavior we are seeing is that my 7-year-old is grabbing anything of interest of the moment and often breaking items and taking off running through the house hoping to engage in a game of chase and him throwing them on the floor seemingly hoping to break them. We are trying to nip this behavior in the bud because he has lots of challenges with impulse control. He has ADHD, combined type with anxiety and possible other undiagnosed things. He is currently on medication for both the anxiety and ADHD as we find the right combination. Our household is struggling with so many challenges and his behavior also throwing, screaming, yelling, unkind name calling, aggression, and following through with timeouts and calm downs and corner suggestions just have not been working for us. He is also being homeschooled due to these many challenges, and this also has its ups and downs. Okay, so first of all, so think of it this way. So there's this book by Dr. Amen, and if you read it, you'll see what type of ADHD he has. Now, I'm not with him, so I don't know if the medication is changing him or if this is how he was before. So I'm only going off of what I'm reading. But there's this type of ADHD where they purposely provoke you. They cannot help it. So imagine your child came to you and didn't have glasses and was bumping into things. You're his glasses. So when he's throwing things and he's out of control, you have to regulate him. He cannot do it himself. He may be 7, but really he's 5. So really you're looking at a 5-year-old who cannot regulate himself. Shaming him is not going to change his behavior. So if you're like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, don't do that. Stop doing that. Oh, well, we don't do that. Well, no, only people who get ice cream are people who don't throw things. That is shaming and it's not going to work. If it was working like timeouts, if timeout works, then you would see improvements in your household and you're not. And I understand because I've been there. Every one of those. I get it. I get it. So this is what I would do. All right, so I don't know that I made it necessarily clear. As I was thinking about it, I was at the pool the other day with my kids, and I was thinking how well behaved they are. Understand that my children, like that whole list that you have there, running, biting, hitting, throwing, all those impulse control up to wazoo, all those things we dealt with. So I understand where you are, and I'm sure that I can get you where you need to be. So that's the advice that I'm trying to give to you. I just don't know if I'm doing it clear enough, but I'm doing my best. So basically what I'm trying to say is that your job is, and hopefully the whole family will be on board, is to help regulate this child. And so what you're going to try to do is your job is basically to coach him. So you're going to be his coach for the next few years. And no, it's not a short process, but it is a process that works and you will see a definite change in behavior. So I'm going to go into some of the things, but one of the things I forgot to mention is, so what do you say when your child is, now understand that all different scenarios I have solutions for all different scenarios. However, what if your child is name calling? We use then and if you feel so obligated to say, oh, stop saying that, don't call him that, or like that's a shaming thing. And again, you're riled up. And so he's like, oh, great, she's riled. Like there's something internal in him that wants to rile you up. So don't play that game. Say, we say nice things to each other and just ignore it and move on. So things like that. So instead of saying, hey, don't do that, say, we don't do that. We do this instead. Things like that. But try to stay calm throughout the whole thing and not let him rile you. So, and that when he does do something right, when he does actually listen to you, then get riled up. Like, oh my gosh, you're listening to me. This is crazy. Okay, so you're kind of, in a way, you're using reverse psychology on him in a way. So say he makes a giant mess, right? Instead of saying, oh my gosh, what a mess. Like now I have to clean this up. Now it's going to take me extra long to make dinner. Okay, that's shaming. You're shaming him. It's not going to change his behavior. But instead of saying, try saying, wow, it looks like you had so much fun. Wow, it looks like you had so much fun. Like, how can we clean this up? What do we need to clean this up now? What do we need? Oh, come on, we'll do it as a team together. Yeah, I need you to pick up, at least 2 of those things. Come on, you silly little nugget. You did it! Stuff like that. So we're not expecting him to get to a 10 overnight, okay? So hopefully that was just some added information that I thought might help. And one other thing to mention is, so you're going to help him regulate his emotions by acknowledging his emotions. So a lot of during the day, so if he's hitting others or hitting himself or doing destructive behavior, if he's small enough and you can hold him and say, oh, I love you too much to let you do that. No, I know you're so upset right now. You're so angry. Oh, you're so mad. And just hold him and breathe with him till he starts to regulate and calm down, okay? But if he's too big for that, say, because, some kids are, and they're having these crazy fits and they're larger too, especially kids who have autism and things like that. Well, then leave the room. Just take attention away from it. Say, I'm sorry, but I can't watch you hurt yourself, and leave the room. And now understand this is coming from someone who tried everything in order to stem the behavior of hurting themselves. Like he would punch himself and stuff like that. One of my children, and it worked. And I tried that just out of desperation. Like that was pure desperation because I tried the coaching, the talking, all this stuff. And so taking attention away, I've done it for a couple different behaviors and it works quite well. Just take attention away. Say, oh, I can't watch you do that, and leave the room. So if it's like punching or hitting themselves or something along those lines. So hopefully that is another tool that will help you. That will hopefully... The first thing I would do is try and remember that you are his glasses. So you're going to help regulate him. He'll probably regulate best by you holding and sitting with him. The first thing is you need to make sure that his love bucket is full. So every day, first thing, play something he wants to play. The second thing I would do is about the throwing things. I would box up everything in your house. Box up most things in your house, not doing it to shame him because it is not his fault. It is not his fault. Do you think he wants to be like that? No, he can't help it, right? So I would box up pretty much everything in your house. I would put the channel changer, like I would glue that to the wall up high and things like that. I understand that's an inconvenience, but if you get rid of most of the stuff and then just ignore it when he throws stuff, or you can redirect and say, here, these are foam. These are foam blocks. Yep, we can throw these at each other. We can throw these at each other. Or socks. What I used to do is we'd have like sock wars where take just balls of socks, you put a pair together. And so we would just throw socks at each other. So because, I get it, right? Throwing, jumping. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things. Screaming. You cannot give it any attention for the most part. Ignore it and it should go away. But the second you engage, that's what he's doing. He's going to needle you until you're upset. So name calling, they have to ignore the name calling. Other kids in the house have to get stronger and tougher and ignore it. Because you're not going to win these battles at this particular age. Another book that's really good is The Explosive Child. I'm guessing your child probably has a pretty low bar for frustration as well. So one of the things you can do too is we're going to get him talking about his emotions, which is going to be extremely difficult to do. So all of these things that I'm giving you, long term, my child, I would say he has no behavior problems. None. And he had all of these. So long term, it will work. Short term, it won't. So one of the things you're going to have to do is choose the 3 biggest things that are upsetting you right now. The throwing things, again, box up all your stuff, move it out of the house. I get it. That sounds terrible. You have a lot of knickknacks. You have a lot of stuff. Yeah, well, put it away, put it in closets, lock it up. Don't do it like as a punishment to him because, again, it's not his fault. Also, one of the things I noticed too is other people have complained is the iPad causes problems. It causes behavior problems, especially in kids like that. Because you may not think so because you're like, oh, well, he's just watching Netflix or something. Well, if you watch the Netflix shows, like I noticed this weekend or last weekend, we put on the K-pop Demon Hunters. it does so many jump edits, and so do a lot of YouTube shows, jump edits. So there's this thing on YouTube called Safe Vision, and it's free for 5 channels. Only put on channels that are boring. So Lego, and yes, he'd have to regulate again in order to find those interesting. Lego channels, but again, not ones that flip fast. Little ones for Jesus, toy videos if you want, but again, not ones that have a lot of jump cuts. Boring ones. Because you have to readjust him to where it's not boring anymore, which is going to be a very hard thing to do in your family. And if you talk to him about it, it's, again, the iPad, regulating the iPad's not a punishment. And, you know, I told him, yeah, I'm going to do it for myself too, so that it's better for our brains. I've talked to other people and they agree with me. They mentioned the same thing, that iPad makes a huge difference, because even when you think it's harmless, it's still causing issues, especially if they can choose a different show, choose a different channel, choose a different thing if they don't like it. And so the iPad isn't helping you as much as you think it is. But once you spend 2 weeks kind of detoxing from it, and then bring in shows that if you used to watch as a child, if you watched as a child, the Jetsons, the Flintstones, My Little Pony, Bluey is not a bad one. They don't have a lot of flipping in that. So just make sure you watch the show first to see if it has a lot of jump cuts. You will notice if it has a lot of jump cuts. A lot of baby videos nowadays have a lot of jump cuts, and it's really screwing with kids' brains. So the other thing is to mark down, okay, so the biggest so get a whole page of habits of things that you don't like that he does. You're going to tackle them a couple at a time, because he's got to get old enough so that he can talk to you about why it's upsetting. Oh, back to the emotions thing. So we're going to work on him identifying his emotions. So you need a chart. I will put it on the thing. It's the zones of regulation. It's free. You can Google it. I don't know if it's free, but everyone has it. All the preschools have it. Zones of regulation. Just download it, print it off. Oh, you're red right now. So for the first 2 weeks when he's angry, oh, you're so red. When he's happy, oh, look at this, you're green. Oh, when you're sad, oh, you're blue. To get him to understand what color he is, because then after that, you're going to start working in the next month. You're going to start working getting him to identify, okay, what things can we do to get us back to green? Yeah, come sit on my lap. That's a big thing for us, is me regulating him by human touch. Like, human touch has to regulate him. Another thing with ADHD kids is to stop saying, instead of saying nagging. Nagging is huge because it's hard not to, right? Because you're like, hey, put your shoes on. Hey, put your shoes on. It's more empowering if you say, oh, your shoes aren't on yet. Do you have bare feet? I notice you have bare feet still. In a way that's more like playful and fun, so that they get to make the choice, yes, I need to put my shoes on. So ignoring bad behavior, try ignoring all bad behavior for like 2 weeks. But anytime he does, and he does listen, and he does follow through, fall all over him. Like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. That's so great. Ah, I can't believe you did that. You know, stuff like that will really help make a difference. So you wrote down all the behaviors you don't like. You're going to tackle about 3. And write down to a separate list would be, is all the things you want him to do in the day. For example, you want him to bring his bowl to the counter. You want him to do his schoolwork. You want him to do, now I've done a ton of videos on ADHD and how to homeschool them. But let's say we're talking math and we're talking reading. Okay, so I'm just going to pick one subject. I'll just pick math, just because this video isn't long. I've talked about it in so many other videos. So if you want him to, so say you want him to put his plate on the counter. You want him to do 1 page of math facts, and then maybe there's one other thing you want him to do. You're going to start this list really small. So now my child's list has a ton of things he has to do before he gets to engage with his favorite activity, whatever their favorite activity is. And I understand the iPad may not be that big a draw when you take away a lot of stuff. I get it. What I would recommend then is you wait until they ask you for something, because they will always ask you for something. There's no nagging here. Yeah, schoolwork's got to be done. And then so he comes up and he's like, oh, can I have another piece of dessert? Absolutely. Or can I have a popsicle? Absolutely. But first, we need to get that page of math done. Then you can have the popsicle. First and then. It's natural consequences. You're not shaming him. You are not punishing him. So he needs to be parented differently, which means all your strategies, you got to go through them, completely wipe the floor. Maybe watch this video a couple times, because maybe sit down and that'll help. If someone's screaming, if he's screaming, you leave the room. Say, oh, I love you, but my ears can't take it. And you leave the room. You take attention away. If he's hitting, if you can't restrain him when he's hitting someone, that person has to leave the room. Do not make victims out of your other children. They can get off their butt and leave the room and go to the room and shut their door. Like, because there's no victim mentality here, right? We don't want to create that, like, oh, one child's good and a victim, and the other child's the aggressor and bad. No, we do not want that dynamic. That will not help you in the future. So, yeah, name calling, they can leave the room. Anytime anyone is bullying someone else with name calling or being unkind, they can leave. I'm sorry, I've heard the pencil sharpener going for at least 45 minutes right now. Okay, so let's talk about punishment. You're only going to punish in emergencies. What I mean is if your child is running outside the door, again, I've experienced this, without telling you where they're going, you're going to put a lock up high. Hopefully that'll just give you a little bit, or a lock where, is that a bug? Do I have to deal with something? Okay, sorry about that. So let me get back to hidden. Okay, so you're only going to punish in dire emergencies. Dire emergencies would be someone running outside the house without telling you where they're going. A dire emergency is not someone hitting someone else. I get it. In any other household in the world, it would be. But with that particular child, in this particular case, it's not. Because there's two people in that room. And that one person can leave. And you can show comfort to that person. Like, oh, you're hurt. I'm sorry you're hurt. You know what I mean? But there's no... If it's an impulse control issue, you can say, instead of saying, hey, we don't do that, which is what I'm always tempted to do or would have been back then, is to say something like, only gentle touches in the house. Only gentle touches. Only gentle touches. If we're angry, we walk away so that we don't feel bad after when we've hurt someone. Okay, so everything's a teachable moment. So, okay, so say your punishment, so he's leaving. So how do you punish? Okay, so he comes back in. And so you have to go get him. I've been there. Of course I have. Bring him back in and say, listen, so it's a safety issue. I have to know where you are in case a tornado comes, in case there's a loose dog in the neighborhood, in case something dangerous is going on. I have to know where you are. So this is a safety issue. So the next time you go out without telling me, immediately there will be no iPad for the rest of the day. That's it. So then it's not a punishment thing. You're not shaming him, and everyone is on the same page, and now everyone knows the deal. Okay, but only use that in very certain circumstances. And don't make it long term, like, oh, this weekend, when everyone else is going to the park, you have to stay home. No, that's so mean. And you're destroying like your family dynamic there. It's immediate. And then you move on, because we're not shaming them. They can't help it that they're a little nutball. They can't help it. Okay. All right, so I hope that helped you. I hope I didn't offend anyone. Okay, so the next one I have is, our problem is that our 12-year-old son shuts down. It's like having someone hit the off switch. Then he isn't learning anything and I'm wasting time I don't have. I have to get creative with getting him to engage in anything. For example, can you help me measure out some of the flour for these cookies I'm making? We need a few groceries items. Can you write down for me? So notice how he seems to be willing to help you. We have X amount of money for food this week. If we spend this much, how much do you think we'll have left? So aside from all that, we're still working on very basic ADLs, very basic self-help skills. I feel more like a therapist some days than a parent. You are, and you are a coach, and you are a nurse, and you are, a cook, and you're a cleaner. You are the most underpaid maid in the world. Yes, absolutely. You should feel like that. Like, I get it. But that's you're parenting your child. That's what he needs, right? It won't be like that forever. And I thought it was a huge win just having him sit for a grade 1-2 level storybook the other day, which that is a huge win. Celebrate your wins. Absolutely. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is, so let's unpack this. Again, I'm only going off of a text, right? Or a comment. So I may not have all the pieces, so I may be reading this wrong. So now my first question would be, is his iPad more entertaining than you? Probably. So he might automatically, there might be a little part of him that shuts down. Also, another thing is that men don't relate the same way women do. Women can talk it up. Men do stuff with each other, or they help. So that's something else to consider. Now, because he is 12, right? So I would make sure that you engage with him in something he wants to do without asking questions, just so that your connection's there. Engage with him if it's his favorite computer game. Engage with him. And yeah, I'm not saying it's fun, people. I'm not saying it's fun. I do it every day. I'm not saying it's fun. But it's that 15 minutes that they need. And so you got to do it. You just got to do it. And then if he wasn't talking and I was doing most of the talking, I would almost say, you know, I'm sensing that maybe you're not into this right now. Am I reading that right? Is there anything upsetting to you about this? So I would kind of try and talk to him about it. But you're not going to get, I mean, there's expressive and recessive children. And like my one son was very recessive. He's now not. He's completely come out of his shell. But for years, you would just, there was nothing. There was nothing. You would get nothing off him. It was quite, I don't know. It was what it was. It was. Okay, so another thing is you kind of just want to get him talking too. So anytime he says something to you, engage him with, oh, tell me more. You don't need to ask any questions. You're not asking yes or no questions. Just tell me more. And, oh, I believe you. Okay, so we're not really judging what he's saying. We're just kind of trying to get him to open up just a little bit, right? So the important thing is, though, when you play with him or you spend time with him, don't ask him questions. That's not the time to ask questions. You know, you can make comments, but like, also don't make bullshit comments, because kids can tell when it's garbage, right? Kids can tell when, like, instead of saying, wow, that's the best drawing I've ever seen, you can say, wow, you've worked so hard on that. Wow, you used pink in there too. So you can make comments, but I wouldn't ask questions. So that would be what I would work on, because eventually it'd be nice to work on, hey, what are you feeling right now? And then hold up a feelings board and have him pick out the feeling and see if he can do that, just to try and get him more engaged, so that you can kind of like get kind of an understanding as to where he is. And, you know, so say he's got to do a page of math and that's really hard for him. So what? Life is full of hard things. You know, I'm sensing that's really hard for you right now. How about if we start with half a page and we did half a page today? And then every day we do half a page for the next little bit until we're ready to increase it. You know, stuff like that. So kind of like talking and negotiating in a way, just because it doesn't seem like he has behavioral problems. Just from your text, it just seems that, yeah, he's not great at expressing himself, right? Which is tough, because some of the male gender aren't anyway. Like, I live in the house with two of them that are not at all. So it's, and then one that is so good, a little too good. But, so I get it and I understand. So it almost feels like, yeah, like the male gender. And then on top of that, recessive on top of that, you're like, oh goodness, crickets is what my girlfriend used to always say. Oh, her husband, when he never would have said, when she would comment and he wouldn't say anything, she'd say, oh, all I hear is crickets. Anyway, so I don't know if that helped at all, but I hope it does help. And I hope, yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the comments and I will answer. Have a great day.